Welcome to my lathe video making the bottles. We're going to make the bottles for I'll just bring one over here and show you. These are some very old ones that are made out of pine and slightly painted. We're going to make something like that. You've seen these at the Royal Armouries, so I'm just going to see show you how they're demonstrated, I should say. Here's the original wheel that goes with my lathe. Unfortunately, the thread on the end of that, I can't get it, well, it's there. There's a non-Whitworth thread on there, I'm afraid, so I can't put other attachments on this. So the only thing I can use my original lathe for is turning between centres, which isn't going to be very much good for us. So what I've done is I've followed Joseph Moxon's advice. I've made my own little pulley here. I've had to make it slightly less than 8 inches, as he recommends, in order to get it through that hole. And you see it's just touching there, so I really have cut it a bit fine there. Other than that, the measurements are all the same, but I've got a Whitworth thread in the end here. You can see how it all turns. It's got nice little brass fittings that it fits inside. Moxon talks about having brass actually on the shaft itself and then turn it within iron. But I'm working with what I've got here. So this lathe is probably, because it's a non-Whitworth thread, it's probably going to predate the 1830s. It's unlikely though, with this kind of machine type of craftsmanship, that we're going to get you know, anything from below, say, 1830. I wouldn't have thought, you know, beyond that. So of course I'm demonstrating here how we would have turned on a 17th century lathe. Got a nice little trumpet on here that somebody's made for me. Well, not made for me, sorry, it's part of the original lathe. You just pop a little bit of oil in there. What I've done is I've just made a little dimple thing on there that I've out of wood that I can just stick in there when the oil's gone down. That's so that the he's done it stainless steel for me. He's a good lad, isn't he? You know, so nice stainless steel on there. That'll rub a bit of oil around there. Just pop that in the top there. Okay, and then just screw that down. Not too tightly, because I need that to be running smooth. See how that runs smooth there? I don't know if we can play with this video camera. I'm not using it, but I'll just show you down at the bottom here. You can see a big wheel down here. You can see how it all turns. I'll just tense this up for you, just so it drops the wheel down. And what that's doing now is it's just tightening up that leather strap there. Now this is exactly how it's described, except that the wheel of my lathe is attached to the body of the lathe itself instead of standing free on the ground. Joseph Moxon will tell you in his treatise, what, 1670, whenever it was, to bring it over over where the axle is, and then you can spin it round. So you hear just a little bit of rubbing on there. Can't really do anything about that at the moment, but because I need that size of pulley really to be able to make this work properly. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to demonstrate on this is the spur drive that he's made for me. So like I said, I can't use the original one, so he's made a nice little spur drive for me that will fit into the Whitworth on here. So the only thing that's different really is the shaft and the pulley, and then of course the spur drive I'm putting on here. Now everything else really fits with how Joseph Moxon would have said it should be done in his lathes in 1670. And so what I'm trying to do is recreate the bottles exactly as they were made at that period. You know, these powder bottles that I've already showed you at Leeds Armouries. Now I've investigated these, and I think the best way to make them is the way that I'm going to demonstrate. I have a candle burning at the back there, and the candle produces a bit of wax. I've put a bit of wax on here. You might be able to see just that little bit of wax on there. So that makes it spin a little bit neater in there, because we didn't have what is it called, a revolving centre in the 17th century. I'm just going to push that in place. It's going to put a bit of pressure on this back plate here, but it just tightens it up a little bit there at the end. So, okay, this is going to allow it all to spin, and just tighten it up just a little bit more, just so it's pushing against that spur drive there. I'll pull that back just a little, because all I want it to do is spin around in that. I don't want it to actually grip. Yeah, the whole idea is to prepare these now, so that I'm going to be in a position to turn my lids and also turn my bottles. So, just put that in place there. I'm going to use, you can use all sorts of different tools for this. I don't normally lay my tools out like this. This is just so I can show you really. So you've got the spindle gouge over here. I've got the parting tool in my hand at the moment. I've got a scraper, commonly used in the period. I've got a tool that I've made myself actually, budged up from various things, because I can't find anything else that will deep hollow in the way that I want to make these bottles. I've got a skew chisel down here, and then I've got the one that most people are very familiar with, the roughing out gouge, obviously used quite a lot. My pieces are already roughed out. You can see loads of videos on YouTube how to rough out from square. Of course, we'd take square, we'd cleave, we'd then draw knife it all and end up with something that's nice and round, roughly like that. I've taken it down to 38mm. The maximum I'm going to need is 35. Okay, the maximum I'm going to need is 35. So what I want to do is make a nice little concave area there, so it's going to fit very nicely onto this other piece that he's made for me, which Joseph Moxon describes as a screw mandrel. So that's going to fit in the end of there, and then I'm going to screw it down onto there. But in order to do that, I need this end to be nice and concave, so that when it presses down onto that nice level plate there, on that lovely 90-degree angle, it's going to sit really sort of tight against that. Okay, so I'm going to do that with the lids first, make lids up. Now, what I can do is make the lids out of the end here, but my screw is too long, I'm afraid, so what I'm going to have to do is make some lids separately. In another way of holding it, which I've tried in the past, which is like a cup chuck on here, I can actually do it so it sticks out a little bit and I can get the lid off the end here, but on this occasion I'm going to have to make it separately because this cup chuck system doesn't work. So if anybody wants to try that, I don't recommend it at all. I think a cup chuck must be much wider than that for a bowl type fitting attachment, you know, so I'll put a screw in there to try and hold it in. Still doesn't work unless it's very, very tight in there, and then you can't get the damn thing out afterwards. It's just not going to work at all, so it didn't work for me anyway, so good luck if you want to try that. But I'm also trying to do it the way that I think that it would have been made in the period. Okay, so if I spin this now, I've got that nice and tight there. I'll just spin that, just making sure I haven't got any grease on my hands, because I've got grease all over this. It's a big iron structure that's working here. So, you know, I need it all nice and greased. So I'll just feel where the nib is on that, the way that I've sharpened it. And then I'm just going to take that in there, that sort of angle. Just change my feet so I've got the right foot in the right place. So I want it to be nice and square, because that end isn't going to be square. Just take that all the way down there. I hope you can hear me. If not, I think you know what I'm doing anyway. Just take that all the way down there. Nicely, newly sharpened parting tool that I've got on there. Just take that down. Now at some point it's going to catch the nib of that there. Okay, and it's going to start to rub on there. I don't want to do that any further of that, of course, no need for that. So I'm just going to take that little bit of a nib off there with my skew chisel. The skew chisel can be used in lots of different ways, of course. I'm just going to use this now just to remove that little nib on the end of there. Probably won't come all the way off, but that doesn't really matter either. Oh yes, we've got it all the way off, that's very nice. Okay, so, slow that down a little bit. Come on, 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 come on. Right, okay, well that's going to fit. What I'm going to do with that is just attach that to my screw mandrel, like I say. I'll make a hole in that, I'm going to drill a hole in that, fit it to the screw mandrel. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is, this is the one that I'm going to make the lids out of. This one here is the one that I'm going to make the bottles out of. It doesn't matter, they're both exactly the same. Roughed to 38mm with a roughing gouge there. Both exactly the same, so that they'll fit what I need. So that's nice and concave. You should be able to see how that's going to go on there. But I also have a knife, you know, which is actually, you know, pretty close to ones in the 17th century as well. Just got a nice concave bit on there as well, just so I can reach into there and take that little nib away, because what I don't want is that nib coming out beyond where these walls protrude on the outside, and therefore making it rock a little bit inside there. So just take that out of there. And then a little on the side there, beautiful thing, having a nice bench here, so you've got everything you need. Modern lathes don't tend to have that, they just the lathe bed and that's all it is. So what I'm going to do now is do exactly the same as you've just seen me do with that one there, with this one. Then I'm going to drill a hole in this one, drill a hole in that one, and then I'm going to show you how I attach it back to the screw mandrel afterwards. Yeah, and then you can see the process of recreating those that we've already looked at Leeds Armouries. Right, okay, you can see now I've got a couple of holes drilled using my trusty drill over there. So just stuck it in the vise and then drill that down. Got a bit of a marker on so I get the right distance. Okay, so next thing is this friend of mine, like I say, brilliant little engineer, local engineer, has fitted this for me. That's not going to come off easily, so I'm just going to help that one off. Just hold the pulley there, that's it, release that. And he's, as you can see, he's welded a nut on there as well on the end of that spur drive, so I can get it off quite easily, which is really good. He's not always that considerate, actually. So, around there. Everything's greased up, by the way, as well. I'm not showing you that process, of course. I find it's easier to put the screw in there once I've got that in there on the end. So, I should have one that I'll put down as well. There it is. It's rolled down there, isn't it? So, nice and concave in there. Hole drilled in the centre, or nearest centre that I can work it out to be. I'll just turn that on there now. Get that in position. I shouldn't have to worry about centering it along here because the drill is, well, I hope I've got it centrally anyway, is enough to do it, but sometimes it helps a bit if you just push that into the end there. Just push that in there. Okay, I'm not even sure that's totally central, but never matter, never mind. Okay, just to make sure you got it right there. Okay, then just turn that, and that should find itself in position there. You see it's come off that centre already. That should gradually come along there. I'll make it nice and tight for obvious reasons. In fact, I'll turn both ends, turn the wood and the pulley as well, just to make it that little bit quicker. Sometimes, at some point, it gets easier to turn the wood than it does the pulley, to be honest. Probably because you're turning that great big iron wheel down at the bottom as well. Anyway, no point in treadling it, of course, because that would be going far too fast then for the screws to go in. I could just hold it and turn the big wheel, of course. You know. Right, I want that nice and tight on there, because what's going to happen is those wings, if you like, those lips on the edge of that concavity are going to press against that nice 90-degree iron plate there, the steel plate that I've got there at the end. Right, now that should be roughly about central, but if it's not, I'm not worried. It doesn't look, that looks terrible, doesn't it? Let's see how that spins. You might be surprised. I hope we'll be surprised anyway. Just release the tension on that a little bit. Make that tighter. Right, okay, spin my wheel, get it over. Just round to there. How's that? Not brilliant, is it, that one, really? So it's spinning a bit, but I'm not too worried about that, to be honest with you. It's not that bad. Even just recentering on a modern chuck, you can get that amount there. Now, you're looking at it from the end, so you'll see it bobbling about there. If you look at it from the top here, there's barely a ghost. And really, any rechucking, you're going to end up with a problem with that anyway. So that's not bad at all, really, from just using a hand drill. No sort of measures or anything like that to make sure that I get it correct or anything, no spirit levels or anything. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the lids out of this. Now what I haven't done is got my template ready for marking that, but I'll go and get it. Okay, got a little template made here. Now they would have worked from a pattern, of course, in the 17th century, so we're not talking about actual you know, sort of measurements, you know, it's certainly not in millimetres, but not in our country. But having said that, most of them were probably made in the 30 Years' War, and then they came over to here from after the, or even during, I should say, the 30 Years' War. So this is the one I'm making lids out of, so just mark off some lids. That's one there, got a nice little lid on there. I'm going to part that one off, I'll do a second lid down here. Oops, there goes the end of my pencil, I think. Is it going? Yeah, doesn't need to be pencil, of course, you can use other things. You know, I'll just shade that one in a bit, so I know that one's a waste area. Same with this one here, so I'm going to top out that one there. Oops, hang on a minute, that needs to be a bit steadier. Okay, where was I? I'd done that one. Done that one. Right, okay, I was in the middle of doing this one, wasn't I? Here we go. That one there. There. I'll just shade that area there as well, so I know that's another one. And then last one just down here. In fact, I'm not sure if I'm getting close enough now to where the screw is coming in there, so let's just have a quick measure of that. The 30 from where the screw comes in, I know it's about 30mm there, it's about to there. Okay, so let's see if I can get another one in there. Probably won't be able to. Now then. Yeah, I can actually. So we'll just whack another one in there. Just might make it. Okay, so put that in there. I'll just do it there, mark it to there, and then to there. So you can see the use of a template, can't you? You know, just shade that one a little bit, so I know that's the rough area. So I can get a few lids out of that. So what I'm going to do is turn some lids, but the thing that's interesting, I think, is, as we know, we've already discussed this, turning in the period was actually done, not bored. It says turning and not bored. So I'm not looking to put a drill in the end of there. What I'm looking to do in there is to actually bore out the hole that I want, but by turning it. So if I use my skew chisel, you'll see that I can do that. Now I've worked out from all my measurements. Oh, sorry, I've said a skew chisel, I've just been corrected. It's not a skew chisel at all, is it? It's a spindle gouge. There you go. Good job somebody in this room knows what they're doing, isn't it, really? Okay, I kept that spinning in the hope that it would carry on, but it hasn't done, hasn't it? It's come to a stop. So what I'm looking for now is a 16mm hole in that. Now I've got verniers to measure that with. I needn't have. I could use a bottle top. I could use anything that I want, you know, to get that 16mm measure. But I'm just going to set this to 16mm. The reason why I'm doing it to 16mm is, as you remember from the videos that you saw from Leeds Armouries, is they were around about 16mm. The spout of the bottles was 16mm. This is the top. You'll notice also inside them they were slightly radiused. Well, there is my, what did I say, skew chisel last time? There is my spindle gouge or detail gouge. I've seen pictures of these, by the way, on walls in the 17th century, so I know they use these very things, and they are good at deep hole boring. We use them for that now. So I would say that this would be the most likely way that they would have done it at the time.